Hey everyone, this time on Tim Talks Audio, we take a look at plugins from Black Salt Audio. So Black Salt Audio are newcomers to the plugin games, but they're coming out swinging with two offerings. Today we're going to be taking a look at those two different plugins to help you dial in your mixes. Maybe you have some low frequency instruments that you need to kind of tame and control, or you just want to enhance some things. The two plugins from Black Salt Audio might be able to help you out with that. So let's dive into the DAW and take a look. So here we go. These are the two current offerings from Black Salt Audio. On the left, you have Low Control, which will handle all of your low frequency plugin needs. This will do things like compressing your low ends in a phase coherent way and being able to enhance some frequencies to make it stand out on smaller speakers. And the other plugin that they have is Escalator. This will do some saturation and some enhancements to any kind of thing you put onto it. So we're going to mess with that one later. We're going to start off with Low Control. Low Control I have going on my bass, and it's the only plugin I have going on right now. So soloing the bass out, and there is a little mix bus processing, but we're not going to worry about that right now. I have Low Control now bypassed. Here is our standard bass tone. So there you go. It's a pretty standard bass sound. To my ear, I actually think it's a DI, so I might do some reamping with this later, but with it being a DI, it actually gives us a good chance to show what Low Control can actually do. Very quick overview of the plugin. The control side is the left, and control is your dynamic processing. So it's letting you separate out just the low frequencies and compress those. Because in rock and punk and metal style music, and anything that falls under like kind of those umbrellas, typically what you do is you really want a nice, solid, tamed low end from your bass instruments. That's what the control side allows you to do. On bottom, you have your compress below slider. This allows you to select a frequency, and anything below that target frequency, right now it's set to 110, it will compress that in a phase coherent way. Then you have some of your standard controls. Here's your thresholds. There's no attack and release times. That's all built in. So the middle dial will show you your gain reduction, and the dial all the way on the right of the control section is your low gain. After you've compressed your low end, you want to dial it back in so you have a nice solid low end on your low frequency instrument. This could be a synthesizer as well. Also on the bottom in the middle, it allows you to solo those lows, so you can really kind of dial in maybe your crossover frequency and then the amount of compression that you have going on for those low frequencies. That's what the solo low control in the middle will let you listen to. So very quickly, the threshold is way down, and I'm going to turn the plugin on. Now let's take a look at what we can do. I've dialed in some settings, but I'm going to mess around with it so you can actually hear what's going on. If you're listening on a phone or maybe on a laptop, you might need to plug in your headphones because we're working with low frequencies here. So you can see you dial in your threshold and it's going to listen to anything under your target crossover frequency. Right now I have it dialed up to 136. This is an arbitrary number for this example, but typically your low ends, you want that controlled because you want a nice consistent low end for your mix. And then you can dial in how much of that low end you need within your bass sound to get a nice balance of your top end and your mids and your lows. Maybe your lows, after getting compressed, just aren't giving you that nice beefy sound you want. You can increase the gain to really have it settle in with the mids and lows so you have this nice solid low end and a balanced sound for your mix. Now that you've dialed in and solidified your low end, what you can do is actually go to the right side and enhance those frequencies as well. And this is a separate frequency where you're going to be adding basically some harmonics to help your low frequencies poke out through smaller speakers, things like laptops or phones, like we were saying before, if you're going to have difficulty hearing this on those kinds of things. What you can do is increase the enhance of your target frequency and help it kind of stick out from those speakers a little bit more. And you can dial this all the way down to 40 hertz and all the way up to 200. So it gives you a broad range. But I'm going to go with 120 just so I can overemphasize and you guys can hear what's going on. So let's do that right now. I have the enhance section on and I'm just going to crank this up to 100% and you'll hear what it does. So it adds some harmonics in there and just does some nice little, maybe slight EQ changes to help the low frequencies kind of poke out a little. I'm listening on my big speakers, so I can hear it adding a little bit of low end in there as well that I can just tame with some EQ. But what it's really doing and what I'm listening to are the mids coming out, and that's what you're going to hear on those small speakers. So let's do a quick before and after. I'm just going to bypass the plugin to show you what we started with and then drop it in after a couple seconds. Okay, so that was low control, helping you tame and control your low frequency instrument. But it doesn't just have to be low frequency instruments. You can use it on mid frequency instruments as well. Things like guitars. If you need a little taming of the low end, you can use low control. But now we're going to take a look at Escalator. And Escalator is exactly that. It will help you escalate your tracks. And it adds some excitement, it does some saturation, and it helps everything that goes through it kind of poke out just a little bit more. Right now I have it on my guitar bus, and just like we did before, I'm going to give you an example without it, and then we're going to drop it in. And I don't really need to go over the controls because there's two of them. You have the control in the center, where you can adjust how much enhancing you're doing by a percentage, and then on the right is your output. If you add a fair amount of escalation, it's probably going to give you that perceived volume bump because of the saturation it's doing, and you can tame it back into your mix by just going to the output and dropping it down a little. Right now the plugin is in bypass, so let's take a listen to our raw guitars. I've gone ahead and reset the plugin. I'm going to turn it on, and now let's take a look at what Escalator will do to these guitars. So with just 23%, we're getting some really nice saturation, and it's actually filling out those guitars. It makes them sound fuller to me, and I kind of like that. And you saw I went to the output and I dropped it 1.5 dB to level match where it was before. And I just did that by ear real quick. So now my guitars are where they were in my mix. Even listening in solo, it doesn't matter right now. But I know when I deactivate or activate the plugin, it's the same volume. So wherever my balance was before, I'm good because I'm exactly where I am. So now let's do this. I have the rough mix open and I still am working on this track, but I want to show you what these things can do. I have my lead vocals muted because I don't need them right now. For both the bass, which has low control, and the guitar bus that has Escalator, they're both in bypass, and after a couple bars, we're going to drop them both in, and you can hear how it will enhance both the low ends and those mids from the guitars. So you could hear the bass pokes through a lot more, maybe just a touch too much, and the guitars are more present. They kind of come forward a little and just make themselves known. They almost got a little lost in the rough balance we had. The drums were very powerful, but by putting these two on in the settings that we did, it brought them out a little bit more. And now I just need to go in and maybe tweak a couple things here or there, a dB or two, just to really set these things in. Again, I'm still working on this and I'm getting my balance right, but I just wanted to show you these plugins because they're really cool. They're simple, and that is really what I like about plugins. Not only the sounds, because these sound good, but I like simple plugins that have a task and they perform it well. Escalator, it's one knob, saturate. That's all it does. You just dial in how much you need. Low control, it's 3 controls, maybe a couple crossovers, but it lets you dial in your sounds very fast and efficiently. So you can move on to the next thing and you're not lost in, well, maybe if I do this and then I have to go there and think about that. No, quick controls to get you working and moving on to the next thing because you don't want to get lost in the one thing you're working on. Like I said before, with low control, you don't have to use that on just low frequency instruments. You can use it on mids, you can use it on drums, you can use it on anything where you need to do a little bit of enhancing or compression within the same plugin. Same thing goes with Escalator. Don't feel like you just need to use it on guitars. Throw it on your vocal bus, throw it on your synths. You can get a lot. You know what? Throw it on your mix and dial in just a little bit to saturate everything. It really is a plugin that you can throw across many different things. If you're interested in picking up your own versions of either Low Control or Escalator, use the link in the description and then use coupon code TimTalks10 to get 10% off of your order. That's all for now. If you found anything informative, please like and share the video. For more, visit timflansbaum.com. And if you have a question, ask it in the comments and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching.